Well, good evening, everyone. You're listening to Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this is your Red Pill News. Hope everyone's having a lovely day and that you had a marvelous day yesterday as well, despite the fact that I took the day off. Thank you to everyone for allowing me to do that. It's only because of you guys watching these videos that I'm even able to put this stuff together. It is an honor and a privilege to be here, and sometimes I just need to take a few moments for myself, and it was well worth it. Because in the meantime, plenty of news came out. First of all, we've got information from the interview that Andrew McCabe and his lackeys did with General Flynn. He had a very strange comment that he made on numerous occasions, which makes me think that we are supposed to be paying attention. Also, in regards to the law firm Covington and Burling that previously represented General Flynn, they are balking at the idea they need to turn over phone records, which include Eric Holder's communications while General Flynn's case was there at the law firm. Why would they not want to turn it over? Sidney Powell is talking about that. We're going to take a look at an article and that tweet. Also, Congressman Nancy Pelosi is blocking an investigation by the administration into the origins of the CCP situation. That means that she is stopping President Trump's administration from using tax money to look into that very suspicious laboratory, which could be the origin of the situation we find ourselves in today. But I'll tell you what the Dems are willing to do. They are helping deploy a DARPA-funded, AI-driven information warfare machine to counter President Trump's incredible social media presence. And finally, House Republicans have sent a letter to Christopher Wray demanding all documents on the operation against Michael Flynn, as well as asking for Bill Priestap and Joe Pientka to be made available for interviews. What is Christopher Wray hiding, and why is he not being forthcoming? I don't know. We've been told to trust Christopher Wray, but at this point, it sure looks like he's stalling on something. Well, guys, we're going to go through all this and more, so please do sit back, relax, grab your popcorn, and we'll be right back after a brief word from our sponsor. In the year 2020, it is so important to keep your body healthy. Collagen may be the closest thing we'll ever get to a real fountain of youth. The older you are, the more likely it's caught your attention, and for good reason. Many health experts now agree that consuming collagen is as crucial as it gets to renew and revitalize how you look and feel. After all, collagen is the most abundant protein in your body and is essentially the glue that holds you together. In fact, after age 20, people produce about 12% less collagen in their skin each decade. And for some, it's an even greater decline. This means that by the time you're middle-aged, you could be producing less than half of the collagen you did in your youth. Even worse, various lifestyle factors you may have been exposed to, like poor diet, smoking, pollution, stress, and excess sun exposure, can deplete your collagen levels even faster. In short, this year-by-year escalating loss of collagen is a key reason people look older as they get older, and explains why over time your skin sags and wrinkles, your hair gets thinner, your nails lose their strength, joints become stiff, recovery from activity and exercise slows down, and digestion-related complaints seem to pop up out of nowhere, and in general, our bodies just turn on us. Some of the benefits of using collagen are making your skin healthy and supple and giving you a youthful look, making your hair healthy and younger looking, supporting your joint flexibility, strengthening your nails, teeth, and gums, promoting strong, healthy muscles, tendons, and ligaments, and promoting strong, healthy bones and digestive health. So visit my page at healthwithredpill.com and purchase the only collagen on the market that I trust. Your link is in the description, and remember, when you support my sponsors, you support this channel. All right, guys, thanks for sticking around. First of all, today we've got this tweet from my friend Enoch on Twitter. He is quoting General Flynn, who was quoted by his brother Joseph J. Flynn. He said, "What a beautiful black sky." Now, what does that remind you of? When is the sky black? Well, when there's a storm on the horizon. Now, this is a comment General Flynn made 3 times during his interview with the FBI agents, and it struck Andrew McCabe as odd. And he wrote about it in his book. Let's go take a look at a little more in-depth coverage on this strange statement. Now, back in February of 2019, this article is talking about Andrew McCabe's uncomfortable appearance on The View when Meghan McCain kind of held him to the fire in a really limp-wristed way. But in his book, he reveals that in the interview back in January of 2017, I believe it was January 24th, 2017, where former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn was ambushed at the White House, he said that this was a breezy conversation which began on with all the urgency of a play date. Now, why would that be? Well, it's because they acted like it was no big deal, that he didn't need counsel. They were seeking to entrap him, get him to lie so they could remove him from the administration. He said in the book, "The one thing Flynn said stands out in my memory, namely that when I told him that people were curious about his conversations with the Russian ambassador Sergei Kislyak, Flynn replied, 'You know what I said, because you guys were probably listening.'" I think that's a very telling statement. Andrew McCabe and his cohorts at the FBI were certainly listening to General Flynn, and General Flynn was aware of it. And he said, without confirming Flynn's suspicions, McCabe wrote, "I had to wonder, as events played out, if you thought we were listening, why would you lie?" Well, that takes us right back to the idea that they didn't think he lied at all. Andrew McCabe was just playing, saying that he lied, and it was enough to get Flynn removed from the administration based on his assertion. Now, according to McCabe, the interview was very odd because it seemed like Flynn was telling the truth to the two agents who interviewed him, and that include FBI agent Peter Strzok, who has since been fired. Now, Flynn, the interviewing agents told McCabe, had a very good recollection of events, which he related chronologically and lucidly, so by the book, and he did not appear to be nervous or sweating, which would be indications of him not telling the truth. He did not look side to side. All of these are behavioral signs of deception. Now, McCabe also wrote that Flynn seemed completely normal, even when, on 3 occasions, Flynn looked at the window and told agents, "What a beautiful black sky." Now, this takes us back to the idea of President Trump saying, "The calm before the storm." And now it's been revealed that a majority of the investigations going on into President Trump and the people around him were given code names which had to do with storm or weather-related events. Now, General Flynn looked out the window and said 3 times, "What a beautiful black sky," the only odd thing he did in that entire interview. Clearly, because he was telling the truth, he had no reason to lie. He knew they were listening. He makes a reference to the storm. This leads me to believe that General Flynn knew exactly what was going to take place. He threw himself upon the sword so that he could help to save our country. It's only as a result of General Flynn's mistreatment that the majority of the country is now awakened to the fact that we had tremendous corruption taking place at the FBI. Now, what a strange thing to say. What a beautiful black sky. Now, Methods and I actually looked this up, and on this date, at around that time, there should have been a storm that was visible from inside the White House. But what are the chances that both President Trump and General Flynn would casually make references to a storm, and that the investigations looking into them would also be named after storms? Well, the answer is that it is not very likely that it's a coincidence. I think General Flynn, President Trump, and many of the people who have been caught up in this investigation and this complete witch hunt absolutely knew from the very beginning what was taking place. And it all goes back to Admiral Rogers warning President Trump and his people at Trump Tower. Now, with regard to Covington and Burling, the law firm that formerly represented General Michael Flynn, there is a request for them to hand over information. It's possible that they had previously withheld many documents from General Flynn. It's also possible that Eric Holder may have had something to do with it, seeing as he is a partner in that firm. One of the things they are refusing to still hand over is the phone records of Eric Holder at the time that they were representing General Flynn. Now, in the past, we've spoken about Eric Holder's role at Covington and Burling and the possibility that there could have been some nasty dealings taking place there. Keeping in mind that Holder worked in the Obama administration for 6 years before returning to the law firm where he had been made a partner in 2015. Now, Covington had numerous conflicts of interest in regards to the biggest case they ever pulled in. Flynn's attorneys at the firm withheld evidence from their client. They asked for dirt on President Trump. They hired individuals that were involved in the criminal Spygate scandal. Now, there's no way that a partner at Covington, like Eric Holder, would not be aware of the firm representing General Flynn in the biggest case at that time in the United States. It's just too corrupt. It makes you wonder if the former corrupt attorney general was involved in a more direct way. After spending millions of dollars on legal fees and after untold negative stories in the fake news media, General Flynn obtained new lawyers, and just last week, he broke his silence after the government finally released Brady documents showing that he committed absolutely no crimes. Now, as of Monday, General Flynn's current attorney, Sidney Powell, tweeted out that the law firm Covington and Burling that misrepresented General Michael Flynn is resisting turning over all documents, and specifically those of Eric Holder and Michael Chertoff that are discussing the Flynn case. Covington and Burling attorneys are resisting the order to turn over these documents in particular. Covington and Burling handed over an additional 32 pages of handwritten notes and 16 pages of documents with handwritten notations, in addition to the 17,500 new pages produced a week ago. But they did not turn over Eric Holder's notes and phone calls on the Flynn case. What could possibly be in those records that Eric Holder and Covington and Burling would not want to have show up? The only reason I can think that they wouldn't want that information showing up is because it has to be damaging to Eric Holder, showing that he is somehow involved in the misrepresentation of General Flynn and in the direct attempts to get dirt on President Trump, which he would then, of course, hand over to his former boss, Renegade, and the people in the government who were working so diligently to try to remove the president and get rid of his national security advisor at the beginning of the administration. This is going to be an extremely interesting case in the days and weeks ahead, and I am going to be keeping a careful eye on this portion of the case. The fact that they won't turn over these phone records or any of these handwritten notes written by former Attorney General Eric Holder is very suspicious. Let's take a look at the tweet from Sidney Powell. Here it is. Sidney states, breaking, Covington and Burling has found more notes and is certifying its full transfer of its files to Flynn to Judge Sullivan for the second time. And she has a variety of hashtags. Flynn exonerated, Flynn was set up, Flynn was framed, and then she also includes a clever little meme which says exonerate General Flynn, and a quote from her, the original 302 was likely altered by Peter Strzok and Lisa Page and is being hidden to cover up egregious government misconduct. That's exactly what it is. She continues, they provided another 32 pages of handwritten notes and 16 pages of documents with handwritten notations, in addition to the 17,500 new pages produced a week or so ago. Covington and Burling says anything more would be too difficult, too expensive, and not required. Well, I have to say that it doesn't matter how difficult or expensive it might be. This information is due to General Flynn, and given the length of time that he has suffered as a result of their mismanagement of the case, the quicker the better. General Flynn deserves this information, and we, the people, deserve to know exactly what role Eric Holder had to play in this entire sordid affair. Now, I also want to show you this meme that Sidney posted herself on the 2nd, and she has since retweeted it when other accounts put it out there. But it is a meme of General Flynn standing in front of the American flag with none other than the 17th letter of the alphabet, which says justice is coming. Something tells me Sidney knows what's going on. Now, just one more picture I want to show you guys from General Flynn. This is actually some mail that I believe he sent out to some people who had mailed him a letter. You can see that it's signed by Lieutenant General Michael Flynn. I can verify this is the signature of Lieutenant General Michael Flynn. He signs also with where we go one, we go all. He always tends to do that, but this is really special. He's got this pop-up card that he sent to the person who received the letter, and he even created a little secondary banner under the American flag, which also bears the 17th letter of the alphabet. Now, in a move that is not totally unsurprising, Nancy Pelosi is actively blocking an investigation into the origins of this sickness situation we find ourselves in right now. She does not want tax money to be used to investigate the lab in China that could potentially be the source of all of our problems. Now, in an interview with Breitbart News this weekend, Representative Guy Reschenthaler told them that House Speaker Nancy Pelosi would rather investigate the president again than focus on the origins of this situation we find ourselves in today, and that she's actually blocking the use of U.S. tax dollars to find out where it all started. Now, on Breitbart News Saturday on Sirius XM 125 on the Patriot Channel, Guy discussed the efforts to investigate tax dollars that flowed through a New York firm to that lab. He said that Pelosi and the Democrats are not interested in holding the CCP accountable and instead want to focus focus all oversight efforts on politically harming the president yet again. How many more millions of dollars are we going to waste on these investigations that go nowhere? Now, he said we should have an investigative body looking at these grants, but Pelosi is not going to do that. So you have myself and House Republicans. I can tell you I'm going to continue to look at these grants. I'm going to continue to look into the Department of Homeland Security as well to see what grants are going there from China. And I'm also looking at defunding the WHO, and we can talk about that as well. But the bottom line with the Democrats is this. They hate the president so badly that they would rather side with the Chinese Communist Party than defend Americans and defend our spending and spend wisely and just be honest. That's how deep their hatred for the president goes. Now, the grant in question is from the National Institutes of Health, and in particular, the National Institute of Allergies and Infectious Diseases, which is headed by the now famous Dr. Anthony Fauci. But it saw U.S. taxpayer dollars sent to something called EcoHealth Alliance, which was specifically used for researching CV-19 from bats in that city, Wuhan, in China. A fairly incredible coincidence, if you ask me. Now, the NIH-funded EcoHealth Alliance then turned around and partially funded that Institute of Virology. And the DoD also gave EcoHealth Alliance $6.5 million in a grant. The grant was to understand bat-borne zoonotic disease in context with weapons of mass destruction. Come on, you've got to be kidding me. It seems to me fairly obvious that this is the most likely scenario. They were given the money. It started there with the research, and then the next thing you know, situation gets out of hand. Now, if this is the case, President Trump is going to do everything within his power to get this investigation going. I believe they've already got stuff happening behind the scenes. He's hinted at it. But as it stands right now, Nancy Pelosi doesn't want any part of it. She would rather spend millions of taxpayer dollars once again trying to destroy the president. It is typical, and it's disgusting. Now, here's something that the Dems don't worry about spending taxpayer funds on. They are so concerned about President Trump's enormous social media reach and the power of his base that they are deploying a DARPA-funded AI-driven information warfare tool to target pro-Trump accounts. Now, an anti-Trump Democratic-aligned political action committee, which is advised by retired Army General Stanley McChrystal, is planning to deploy an information warfare tool that reportedly received initial funding from DARPA, the Pentagon's secret research arm. Now, it's a transforming technology originally envisioned as a way to fight those bad guys in the Middle East and their propaganda campaigns to the benefit of Joe Biden. Now, the Washington Post initially reported on this. The initiative is called Defeat Disinfo. What it's going to do is utilize this artificial intelligence and network analysis tool to map discussion of the president's claims on social media. Then it will intervene to identify the most popular counter-narrative and boost them through a network of 3.4 million influencers across the country. And not just artificially boosting their posts and putting them into your feeds, but also in some cases paying users with large followings to take sides against the president. Kind of the same way that Michael Bloomberg did while he was still running for president, asking large influencers on Instagram to post flattering posts about him and then paying for them. Now, Curtis Hoagland, who is a social media guru, is actually heading up Defeat Disinfo, and he said he received the funding from DARPA when his work was part of an effort to combat extremism overseas. Now, the Post updated its reporting to clarify that Hoagland was using open source technology initially incubated with funding from DARPA. I don't see that big of a difference between the two. Now, Hoagland explained in an interview with the Post he was unhappy that top social media accounts often supported Trump and had effectively defended the president in recent days from claims he said he had suggested Americans inject themselves with disinfectant. Well, the reason top social media accounts support President Trump is because they're intelligent and they are interested in self-preservation, and they like the policies that President Trump has put into play, and they like the things he is doing for this country, not to mention the fact that he never said people should inject themselves with disinfectant. Now, DARPA has actually responded to these claims, and they said that Hoagland is misrepresenting his work at the agency. Hoagland's claim DARPA funded the tech at the heart of his political work is grossly misleading, they tweeted. He advised briefly on ways to counter the bad guys in the Middle East. He was not consulted to design AI or analysis tools, nor certainly anything remotely political. DARPA is strictly apolitical. Well, considering Hoagland's political bent and the experience he received working at DARPA, it sounds like he's taken that initial seed idea and he has repurposed it in order to fight President Trump. Since they can't do it on policy, they can't do it based on popularity, they're going to have to do it based on an AI weapon, which they're going to use against people like us. Now, and finally, House Republicans have sent a letter to Christopher Wray demanding all documents on the operation against General Flynn, and they also want Bill Priestap and Joe Pientka to be made available for interviews. Now, Representative Jim Jordan and Mike Johnson on Monday sent a letter to the FBI director demanding these documents in the operation on Michael Flynn. Now, they're also seeking interviews with FBI Special Agent Joe Pientka and former Assistant Director of FBI Counterintelligence Bill Priestap. They said the American people continue to learn troubling details about the politicization and misconduct at the highest levels of the FBI during the renegade Biden administration. Even more concerning, we continue to learn these new details from litigation and investigations, not from you. It is well past the time you show the leadership necessary to bring the FBI past the abuses of the renegade era. They demand all documents and communications between or among the FBI and other executive branch agencies, including but not limited to the Executive Office of the President for the period December 1st, 2016 to January 20th, 2017, referring to or relating to Lieutenant General Michael Flynn December 30th, 2016 conversation with Sergei Kislyak. They continued, explain when you personally first learned of the FBI's misconduct with respect to Lieutenant General Flynn. Now, Christopher Wray came forward. He held a press conference. He has testified in Congress on numerous occasions. He said openly that there was no political bias in regards to what happened with Lieutenant General Flynn or what happened with the investigation into the Russia situation. But I think that as more information comes out, it becomes clearer and clearer that there was at least a little bit of a political bias going on, and there certainly was a whole mess of corruption taking place at that FBI. And due to the fact that it happened under the final days of the last presidential administration, it goes without saying that it was happening under their watch. Now, after we get a revelation where the notes on General Flynn say, what is our goal, truth, admission, or to get him to lie so we can prosecute or get him fired, it becomes even more obvious that the corruption was rampant. It was endemic within the FBI. Now, Christopher Wray may not want to admit that, but I think the time to pretend that he didn't know what happened is long gone. Now, we need to get this information. It needs to be made public, and Lieutenant General Michael Flynn needs to be exonerated as quickly as possible. And to go beyond that, the FBI needs to be completely overhauled. I know Christopher Wray has done a fair amount of work since he got there, but he has stopped short of admitting the malfeasance of the FBI and, frankly, the illegal behavior that they exhibited. The time is now, Director Wray. It's time to come forward. It's time to admit the mistakes of this agency because they happened under the last administration, not under your watch. It is up to you, Christopher Wray, to restore this FBI to the glory of what it once could have been. And if it's not going to be you that does it, then it's time to get someone else in there. I find it fascinating that despite decades of lying to the public, after being so completely exposed, the left and the swamp continues to pile on the untruths. They think the public doesn't see what they're doing, but the truth of the matter is, every day that goes by, more and more people are seeing the writing on the wall. People know they've been lied to. People are very upset. It's time to set things right. And my friends, we are literally standing on the edge of this cliff, waiting to dive in to the deep waters of justice just below. All right, my friends, as always, this has been Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this was your Red Pill News. Good luck, everyone, and God bless. Hey guys, one more thing. It's Red Pill. I just want to say thank you once again to everybody that has helped to support the channel. If you'd like to get involved, you can go ahead and check the show notes in the pinned comment and the description. There's always good information in there. I've got a couple of backup channels. I ask that you go ahead and subscribe to them because if anything does happen here, I will start publishing there. And if you want things like merchandise or anything else, there is a bunch of information that you can find right below this video. All right, guys, thank you very much, and I'll see you tomorrow.